So the first two episodes of Cinderella 9 slowly introduced characters to bring us up to the full roster that we'll need by the end of the season. And by the end of episode 2, we had 5 characters. And now we might have a full team. Episode 3 starts off with a flashback. We see Tsubasa playing at second base in this senior league game. We see a mysterious black-haired girl at the plate getting a walk-off hit. And then we fast forward to the present time. The next character that we meet is Nakano, who is a budding journalist for a school without a newspaper, apparently. As someone who did some amateur journalism himself, I'm not too pleased with how bumbling they made this character. But it becomes apparent that this character is going to be the exposition tool that the show is going to use to explain things that it can't use the characters to explain. We then get the girls practicing, doing some drills, and then a cheerleader shows up who definitely is not a fascist vampire. Her name is Iwaki. She has dedicated herself to cheer for any sort of athletic group the school provides, and now she is pledging her loyalty to the baseball team. And as her first act of loyalty, she brings in another character. This is the purple-haired Asada, who is touted as the school's best gambler and therefore is a worthy addition to the team, apparently. Asada and Nakano have been playing rock, paper, scissors, and Asada has won every single match. And when Tsubasa tries her hand against Asada in rock, paper, scissors, they play to a draw. And this is apparently enough for Asada to be like, yeah, I'm going to join this team. This girl looks interesting. And of course, when Asada joins, she forces Iwaki to join as well. So in the span of 5 minutes, we go from 5 players on the team to 7 players on the team. The girls celebrate their first successful practice by going to a ramen shop, and this is where they discover Nakano, the journalist, spying on them from behind a newspaper. From here, Nakano introduces herself and then also introduces her actual role into the show. Because this show is about girls' baseball in a time and world where professional baseball for girls does exist in Japan, it feels a need to explain the recent history of girls' baseball. And as Nakano explains through her research, which I guess also doubles as my research as well, up until recently, girls were only allowed to play in the senior leagues, middle school, and in college. But girls could not play in official games in high school, and as a result, no girls really did play in high school unless they played in an unaffiliated league. In 1995, a friendly match between the best girls baseball players in Japan against some girls baseball players internationally was held in Japan, and this convinced a lot of Japanese schools to give girls baseball a shot. Slowly but steadily, a few high schools adopted girls baseball into their programs, and right now there are about 30 high schools across the country that sponsor a girls baseball team, which isn't enough to gain national recognition, but is apparently enough to hold regular games amongst schools and to serve as this sort of pseudo-farm system for the girls' professional baseball league. And all of this information is really cool because it's establishing Cinderella 9 as not this fantasy in a way that Princess 9 was in the late 90s, but something that's actually attainable. So after the restaurant scene, all of the girls, including the journalists, go to the batting cages to test their hitting skills. Tsubasa takes a back seat and chooses to teach all of the players instead of showing them herself. This is really in character with what Tsubasa has been doing. She wants to lead by teaching instead of leading by example because she's more interested in getting everyone involved than just playing herself. So all the girls take some swings at the batting cage, including the journalist, including the definitely not fascist cheerleader, including the gambler, and they all have varying success with their swings. And right when the weakest batters are getting some of their hits in order, who shows up but the black-haired girl from the opening scene. Turns out her name is Shinonome, and she's really good at hitting. This inspires Tsubasa to hop in the cage and take her first swings, and they sort of have this parallel battle between each other. After they both hit this gorgeous home run, Tsubasa tells Shinonome how cool she is, and Shinonome responds by saying something along the lines of, "I can't believe that you quit on me. We were supposed to meet up with each other." And that's when Shinonome storms off. As it turns out, Tsubasa and Shinonome both played in the same senior league against competing teams. Shinonome's team beat Tsubasa's team in the final, and this is where Tsubasa dedicated herself to continue playing in some fashion. Shinonome, on the other hand, isn't so much interested in cultivating girls' baseball for everyone. She's more interested in making it pro herself. And in order to do that, she needs to take her training seriously and join a senior league team and train by herself in an environment with the best possible players around. And Tsubasa wants Shinonome to join the team because she wants everyone to play. And it also doesn't hurt that she would automatically become the best or second best player on the team. But Shinonome's introduction as Tsubasa's foil helps create the central tension of this show going forward. This is going to be Tsubasa's theory of making the sport accessible to everyone, and Shinonome's pursuit of exceptionalism and pursuit of a goal at all costs. It's definitely cliched. I've seen this before. Haikyuu Princess 9, for example, especially with the red hair, black hair dynamic between the two lead characters. But it's about baseball, and it's current, and with a very relevant, topical, modern setting and message. So story-wise, I think this show is holding up. However, you're starting to see some cracks in other places. I noticed this week that the episode took a very significant dip in animation quality. And this is coming from someone who doesn't notice these things ever and hardly ever cares. But even I could notice a lot of close-ups and some weird frames in this episode where it seemed as if there was no logical reason why those would be included unless there was a time constraint or a budget constraint. The batting cage scene especially looked really choppy. All of the swings didn't really look very natural. It was a little bit distracting, but it made up for it with a lot of really cool stills. I can understand that a lot of really hardcore anime fans might watch this show and say this animation is just not good. But honestly, if you're not watching this show for any other reason besides being a baseball fan or looking for a waifu or being a seasonal completist, then I honestly don't know what you're doing. This is a very niche show. This is not for any mainstream appeal. And even though episode 3 takes a pretty significant dip in production quality, it keeps up the story. It keeps my interest held. It may be technically one of the worst shows of the season. I don't know. I'm not watching a lot. What I do know is of the 3 baseball shows that I am watching this season, I'm enjoying this one the most. And no, I didn't expect that coming in, but hey, you never know what really pushes your buttons until you start watching. So if you're into cute girls playing baseball, yes, I've told you this already. Watch this show. Cinderella 9 is good.